of the Aurora City Council for Monday, January 26, 2026 is called to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Kaufman,
Here.
Councilmember Andrews,
Here.
Councilmember Bergen, Mayor Pro Tem Coombs, Councilmember Gardner, Councilmember Hancock, Councilmember Horton,
Here.
Councilmember Jackson,
Here.
Councilmember Lawson, Councilmember Medina,
Here.
Councilmember Wiles.
Here.
Is there any objection? Oh, first of all, okay. Is there any objection to moving 4A and 6A in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission interviews? Without objection, that's how we will proceed. Item number 4A.
Liz, you're up.
Hi, everyone. Liz Rogers, going to be really fast with this. Last Thursday, the 22nd, the Pfizer Committee took a position on one bill, House Bill 26-1039, and we did an amend position. Are there any questions I can answer?
What was the subject matter of that?
It was the bill from Rep. Carter concerning requirements for municipal jails.
Gotcha, I thought so. Okay, thanks.
Questions of staff? Seeing none, then item number 6A, Arapahoe County Community Corrections Board appointments.
This is just a follow-up to the outside appointments from last week. There was a couple council members that were interested in terms of potentially serving on this. We did confirm with Arapahoe County this does not require law enforcement to do this. I did speak with those folks that had been doing this. It is a somewhat significant time commitment, so we did try and provide this information to those two council members that were interested and wanted to bring this back to see if it's their pleasure to serve or whether they want to have staff continue to provide that function.
Comments?
I think I was one of the council persons that expressed interest, and I appreciate in the time commitment, and I just don't have that in my ability at the moment.
Further questions or comments?
And if either of you would like to at any point just to kind of go shadow them, I did, and if you ever want to, they'd be happy to kind of just share with you. So let me know and I'll get you in contact with the appropriate staff person.
So it's
It'll be Captain Terry Brown is our current representative, it sounds like, and so he'll continue to serve in that function.
well, without objection, then that's how we'll move forward. Thank you.
With the interview, so Katie's going to go. Do you need a couple minutes to transition over, Kate?
I'll grab them right now. They're out in the lobby. In the consent calendar, was that?
Yes.
Oh, you want to do it, just do the consent calendar while you do that, or?
Yeah, there's no mayor's update. Are there any issue updates? Is there any objection to moving the consent calendar forward, item number 3A to 3B? Seeing none, then we are on interviews. Oh, wow. What's the format for the, what do we give you?
For the interviews, I think typically you all have about, 25 minutes for each candidate. Typically what we do is the mayor is just going to call on each of you. We typically give them a couple minutes for an opening statement, tell us why they're interested. The mayor will then go around the room to each council member. You'll get 2 minutes for questioning. The only thing we ask is that you ask each of the candidates the same question, so you can't ask one candidate what their favorite color is and ask another one to explain the basics of local land use planning. Just do that, and then the time is yours, and then at the end the mayor will ask them for kind of a summary, 1 minute summary, and we'll go from there. Mayor, if that's okay with you, that's typically how we've handled these.
Okay, Robin Becker,
Yes.
thank you so much for your interest in applying to be on the Planning Commission. You have 1 minute for an opening statement to tell us why you'd like to be a member of the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor Kaufman. Good afternoon, City Council members and Honorable Mayor Kaufman. I'm just repeating myself. I'm on work mode right now. My name is Robin Becker, and I'm a senior planner by trade and an optimistic gardener in my downtime. I'm interested in joining the Planning and Zoning Commission for the sole purpose of being an active and engaged member of my community in the city. I come from a long line of volunteers in my family, and I appreciate the value that comes with being a volunteer in your local community and those experiences. Being a subject matter expert is a bonus, as I have about 12 years of private and public planning experience. I enjoy working with multiple agencies to coordinate large and small projects in downtown Denver, and I like to take a solutions-based approach to my personal and my professional experiences. For the last year or so, I've been, as I've become more settled in my new to me home and community, I've sought out a way to give back and volunteer in the city. I believe joining the Planning and Zoning Committee or Commission would be an excellent use of my skills and time. So I do thank you for your time today, and I appreciate the opportunity to be interviewed for the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you. Councilmember Andrews, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you for being here today.
Yes.
My question might be my only question because it might take a while to answer a lot of that. The experience that you said that you have is 12 years over a period of time. What experience led you to want to work in the Aurora, and how can you help Aurora transform its planning and zoning?
Great question. I am a city planner by trade. I've worked in numerous municipalities, and as a homeowner in Aurora, who's a little too involved in my community, in the sense of I know my neighbors and they all know me, especially when trees are being cut down and people are having parties past 2 p.m. I'm just kind of a nosy neighbor. I want to know what's happening in my community. I take the train every day to work, and I'm interested in what's happening on Peoria and Havana, and I'm just, as a planner, it's my profession, but I also am a bit of a nerd in the sense of I really enjoy knowing what's going on in my community. And Aurora is growing. It's the second fastest growing city in the state. It's quite a bit of diversity when it comes to demographics, and it's actually kind of exciting to live here. I grew up in Colorado. I'm originally from Colorado Springs and Castle Rock, Douglas County. But I choose Aurora because it's just a great place to live. I really enjoy my neighborhood. I love that I have a mix of older and new young people where I live. So it's great.
One more question. You know, this is 2026. We're looking forward, Aurora. What do you see Aurora's 2030 in planning and zoning?
Ooh, I mean, we have a housing shortage, so that's a big one. Making sure that we're meeting that need, and also making sure that we're doing it in a way that's appropriate for where housing needs to go. We have multiple concerns. We've got a lot of unhoused stuff that we have to deal with. We have a lot of economic and development hiccups that are coming. You know, we got to make sure that we're meeting the needs of not only, I'm also a military brat, so we've got a huge influence on that as well, and working with them. So I'd say housing is probably the biggest one, and that's across the state. It's just, and that'll continue to be something that we have to make sure we adapt for as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Bergen, you are now recognized for 2 minutes. Is she not available?
I'll see her on.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Coombs, you are now recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. My question is, how will you balance the feedback that community brings to public comment on planning and zoning issues with the requirements of the code?
So that's a great question as well. It's a complicated topic, right? As a planner, it's in my professional life, I have to always look at the code and look at, are we meeting what the code says? But you also have to, planners kind of get it wrong in the sense that we are really not great at, we think we know what's best for the community, even though we sometimes don't live there. And so making sure that balance, you're listening to that community feedback and you're gathering that engagement and taking it for what it needs to be. Is it somebody just having a bad day and complaining, or are they genuinely based in reality and making sure that people are being heard? And, are there concerns about parking? Are there concerns about making sure that the building's not going to shade the next door neighbor, right? So those are valid concerns, and it's a lot. It's getting down to, are we solving a problem? What's the problem we're solving, and how can we meet everybody in the middle? Yeah.
Councilmember Gardner, you are now recognized for 2 minutes. See present. Councilmember Hancock, you are now recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate your willingness to serve. My question for you is, what is the difference between equity of standards and implementation focus?
That's a great question, too. I mean, equity of standards is making sure that equity is similar to equality, right? And making sure that everything is across the board, the standards are being met, right? And then the second part of can I get a second part of that as well, please? Can you repeat?
Implementation.
Oh, implementation. I mean, they don't sometimes match. They don't overlap. They sometimes are in conflict with each other. And that's a hard one to try and address in regards to standards. Sometimes are designed by people that aren't really, how do I describe this? Standards aren't always in the best interest of those you're trying to serve.
I guess I ask that because, a lot of times we ask, especially when doing planning, are these things allowed? Mm-hmm. Do you have the opportunity to have to be able to finesse some things a little bit to make them work without just strictly being
by the code.
You're clear on the rules, but you have some leeway, some leverage, where you're just like, this is the rule, this is the style, bam, we're done.
Well, I mean, that's what Board of Adjustment's for. That's what making sure that we're working within the code. There's wiggle room. Obviously, planners are interpreting the code, right? That's what lawyers are for as well, to make sure that everything is being addressed. But it's most of the time you have to follow the code, and you have to, if something's very outdated, which is what happens a lot. I saw that you guys updated your, I think it was your bylaws in 2024, which I was really jazzed to see that. Like, usually bylaws are about 20 years old, and the code is a hard one. It's, when I was in planning school, we used to say, can you draw this? Who's this going to impact? Because, you're not going to, you're not going to win, and it's a hard job, being not only a planner, but also on council and boards. So did I answer that question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you got there. Thank you.
Councilmember Horton, you're now recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for being here, Robin. What do you see as Aurora's biggest land use or growth challenge over the next 5 to 10 years, and how should the Planning and Zoning Commission help address it?
Okay, so you said road challenge as well?
Biggest land use or growth challenge.
Oh, growth. Okay, I heard road, sorry. Housing. I mean, that's the biggest one in Colorado, I would say, across the country. And also making sure it's mixed middle-income housing. It's not just affordable or high-end. It's a mix of housing, right? And making sure that we have the most diverse demographic in the state, and we need to make sure that we're allowing those people to have different ranges of housing. If they want to live in apartments, condos. Do we have workforce housing? Do we have, how do we work with the city and the community to make sure those needs are being met?
Thank you. And one quick question. Well, hopefully quick. Tell us about a time you had to make a decision based on rules or data, even when there was strong public pressure or opposition. How did you approach it?
In my previous life as a city planner, when I worked for the city of Golden, Golden has a growth restriction, a growth cap. So you can only build a certain number of houses, percentage of each year. I think it's 1%, if I remember correctly. Forgive me, it's been about 5 years. And a lot of people thought that, just based on public comment, people that come into the office and would voice their concerns, a lot of it was just fear of the unknown, of not knowing what was allowed and what was not allowed. And I think that just comes down to communication and making sure that in these public hearings, when somebody brings a project to the commission, that you're communicating that to not only the council and the associated boards, but also the community. And just being black and white, does it meet code? Does it not? What does that involve? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilmember Jackson, you are now recognized for 2 minutes.
Yeah, thank you for being here, Robin, and your willingness to serve. I'm curious what you think the biggest asset in planning for Aurora is.
Like on a commissioner, with a commissioner? Is that the question? Like in regards to Like somebody who sits like a,
Just what is the biggest strength that you see?
being open, being able to listen. I think listening and doing the research and doing the background.
I'm sorry, let me rephrase, of Aurora.
Oh, of Aurora.
Yes.
Sorry, my apologies.
You're okay.
Knowing your community, like getting out and being involved and knowing, what ward you're in, who's your representative, are you involved? What are your neighbors talking about? What is, making sure you're out and getting around and being involved, I would say.
Okay, great. And what are some of the barriers you see to planning and zoning for affordable housing?
There's no market for it. I mean, nobody's building that right now. It's hard to get funding for that. It's hard to get financing. I think a lot of people, nobody wants to live next to an apartment complex, right? That's hard because it's just a different when you have house like single family housing, and then you have apartment complexes, right? And that's just zoning, right? So how do you? It's a multitude of reasons. Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Medina, you're now recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Robin, for applying for the commission. My question is, what are your thoughts on ADUs and manufactured housing as options for affordable housing?
I know that right now they're externally allowed. They're not internally allowed within the city. I think they're a great option. I think you just got to do them correctly. You got to make sure that people aren't Airbnb-ing them. If that's not in the code, I think a lot of people, if there's capacity for it, and you like in my neighborhood, which you are my counselor. Sorry for pointing. But no, I think in the bigger, older neighborhoods with like large lots with small houses on them, that makes sense. I think just making sure that there's capacity for them, infrastructure-wise, parking-wise. Is there a mix of like, I know my neighbor has one, and he's pretty great, like him. He's got a barky dog, I love it. She plays with my dog quite a bit. But yeah, I would say that if it meets like the requirements for infrastructure and parking and all the other kind of, you're not just plopping them wherever. I think they're a great solution.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilmember Wiles, you're recognized for 2 minutes.
Thanks for being here. So I only have one question. What one unique skill or interest, could be professional or otherwise, do you think sets you aside from others or should make you our top choice?
I like to ask a lot of questions. I like to know the background. I want to understand the why of why you don't go into local government or public or any kind of public servant job without understanding that it's tough. You got to make sure that you're A, willing to listen, and B, you want to ask questions and try and meet people where they're at. And that's hard to do in planning and in any kind of, I'd say, public service role. So also I really like reading, so that's always good. It's quite a bit of the quite large packets, I'm assuming sometimes, so yeah.
Great, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Robin, you have 1 minute for closing comments.
Thank you. Thank you so much, councilors, for your time today. I appreciate the conversation. It's great to actually be in this building. I've only been in here once before, so I applaud you. It's hard to appoint board members, and you're doing a great job. So thank you so much. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
We wouldn't have chased you down for it. It's okay.
We're way. We're way ahead. If they're available, we'll do it. We'll do it. Stephen Elkins, thank you so much for your interest in the Planning and Zoning Commission. You have 1 minute for an opening statement.
Yeah, hello, my name is Stephen Elkins, and I'm an applicant for the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'm here today because it's always been a life dream of mine to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission. I bring over 10 years of in the public sector, doing everything from what I like to say science to skyscrapers. Most recently, I led a planning and building department in rural Indiana. In the last few years, I've worked for a data center development company where I work directly with municipalities all across the country to entitle new data centers. I'm excited to be here, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Let's see. Councilmember Andrews, you're now recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. Stephen, thanks for coming. A couple questions for you here. With your experience that you've had in the past, what and how does that is going to inform your decision making on the plan?
Sure. I think it's given me a great education in what the criteria is. And I think really a lot of what the Planning and Zoning Commission looks at are, does this rezoning, does this conditional use meet the criteria or not? I think my past experience really centers me in wanting to have the public to have a voice. I'm not sure if a lot of people know this, but Planning and Zoning Commission, just like City Council, has public invited to be heard. I think it is something that needs to be used more, and I really think opening our doors to hear the public more and inviting them in is just so important as their neighborhoods and communities change.
Great. One more question. As we look forward to move Aurora into the next decade, what do you see as an Aurora 2030?
An Aurora 2030 I see as, really living up to our comprehensive plan where people are brought together, where their transit and transportation options are improved, where everybody has housing, where people can feel safe, and where our neighborhoods and commercial centers are places we want to go, and we have that vibrant future that I think is something we all aspire to.
Thank you.
Councilmember Coombs, Mayor Pro Tem Coombs, you're now recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much for joining us and interviewing today. My question is, how do you balance that community input and community feedback with the requirements of the code?
Sure. I think, it's making sure that those processes were followed, that people knew when the meeting was, which I think our staff does a really great job at, and really hearing people, listening to those comments, seeing how they do or do not fit the criteria. But I think our job as Planning and Zoning Commissioners is to follow that criteria. And, this body, not the Planning and Zoning Commission, sets that criteria. And it's up to Planning and Zoning Commission to ensure that the public is heard, but that at the end of the day, the criteria is followed.
Councilmember Hancock, you're now recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you for coming, really appreciate it. I wanted to ask, what is, as Planning Commissioner, what is the difference between equity standard and implementation focus?
Sure. I think, equity standard versus implementation focus, it really comes down to, where our process is living up to ensuring that people are heard, that we have people at the table, and asking yourself, are the people who've shown up, are they representative of the people around us and the people in the community, the people who are most impacted? Because it's always one of the most wrenching things. People, I never heard, I didn't know this was going on in my community. And so how do we balance that? And then I think implementing it is something that we do every day. In terms of our plans, in terms of our zoning code. And that is why those things are dynamic and those things change as the people in this body and as the people in this community change with it. It's just ensuring that those things go hand in hand so that those things are actualized.
Do you believe that there is flexibility and nuance when you're looking at, in terms of implementation?
I think, again, we have to go back to that criteria. And, I think nuance is something that this body looks at when something is called up. But really, what does that criteria say? How is it working? And how is that balanced in our plans and regulations and ensuring that they rise to the standards that people expect of them?
Thank you.
Councilmember Horton, you're now recognized for 2 minutes.
All right. What do you see as Aurora's biggest land use or growth challenge over the next 5 to 10 years, and how should the Planning and Zoning Commission help address it?
Sure. I think some of our biggest issues continue to be the development and redevelopment of large pieces of land that will directly affect the people who are already living there or will live there in the future. I think the mayor's efforts on the Lowry campus, as well as the revitalization of Colfax, they present an important opportunity to ensure that the people who live there and will face the impacts have a seat at the table, that some of the community needs that they see and live every day are addressed. Because when you do put a big project in people's communities, it does change it, and it changes their lives. And I think that is where, my recommendation would be, again, where are those opportunities that people can be heard, and where can our leaders connect with those people in our community, because that's really what's important. Because at the end of the day, if people are not happy with how their communities change, they will vote with their feet.
And then real quick, tell us about a time you had to make a decision based on rules or data, even when there was strong public pressure or opposition. How did you approach it?
Sure. So in my previous position in Indiana, the issue of industrial solar farms kept coming up, and the community wanted to do a moratorium, and things were moving quickly and evolving quickly. And you could sense that the community had shifted strongly against this, but it was really important that we follow the law, that we follow the criteria, that it wasn't just something done on a whim, that we have the hearings, we have the input, but at the end of the day, we had to follow the law. And I really worked with our planning commission and our county commissioners to ensure that that moratorium met the legal standards if it was challenged.
Thank you.
Councilmember Jackson, you're now recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. All right. Thanks for being here, Stefan. Aurora is the third largest city in Colorado. We're unique compared to Denver and Colorado Springs. So with that, what do you see as Aurora's greatest opportunity for planning and zoning?
Sure. I think our greatest opportunity for planning and zoning is ensuring that land use matches the transportation adjacent to it. I think there are just so many opportunities where we can build housing, especially affordable housing, in our corridors that's connected to transit. I think one question, though, that is something I think about is, does that new development serve and support the people who are there currently? We often talk about residential displacement, we should, but I'm also equally concerned about commercial displacement. Can those small businesses that truly are the fabric of our community, can they make it in that redevelopment, or have we priced them out and do they have to go elsewhere?
Thank you. And one more question. What role does community play in planning and zoning?
Sure. I think the role that community plays in planning and zoning goes back to when I was in graduate school, where my program emphasized community-based practice, where planners were really informed that listening to community, being out in the community, and amplifying their voice was important, and connecting them with the criteria and the plans and our comprehensive plan that really make up what that is to them. And that's something I've taken throughout my career. It's not enough to tell the public, oh, you just don't understand. We have to do a better job of educating people so that their comments and concerns are relevant to our criteria.
Thank you.
Councilmember Medina, you're now recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Elkins. My question is, what are your thoughts about ADUs and manufactured housing as other options for affordable housing?
Sure, I think it's a great question. It's something I live every day. I have a roommate who I brought into my house at a reduced rate because I think ADUs and alternative living situations are important. It's something that the state has mandated, and so that is a decision for this body about how it goes forward vis-a-vis home rule authority. But in general, I am supportive of ADUs. I'm supportive of manufactured housing because we need to get people housed at a level that they can afford, or we face continuing issues where people are displaced or have nowhere to go. I really believe in having all options on the table.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Wiles, you're recognized for 2 minutes.
What one unique skill or interest do you have that you think sets you aside from other applicants or should make you our top candidate?
Sure. I think it really comes from a passion for connecting people with how these things change their lives and impact them. I have worked directly with neighbors and friends in my community on this is how government works. This is where you can have an opportunity. I had a friend who just felt like she wasn't being heard, so I encouraged her to take advantage of public invited to be heard at Planning and Zoning Commission. I think it really is that passion. It's not just checking the box and, oh yeah, this is how it could be. I think it's informing people of how things work, connecting them to how they work, and really building that capacity in our community so that they can be at the table.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen Elkins, thank you so much again for your interest in being on the Planning Commission. You have 1 minute for concluding remarks.
Yeah, thank you all so much for having me. I'm really excited by this opportunity. It goes back over 20 years ago when I was a college student watching my first public meeting on television. And from that point forward, I wanted to be involved in local government. It goes to my graduate education where I worked with diverse communities in El Paso, in Albuquerque, to really help them and empower them for what they want to do with their communities. I've become very passionate about the opportunities that we have on the Colfax corridor to include how we get people to the table to ensure that they are heard and part of the conversation. I really am excited by this opportunity, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, it's just because he said that not enough people attend. What's your strategy?
Allison Spink, thank you so much for your interest in being on the Planning Commission. You have 1 minute for opening remarks.
Okay. And you can hear me? Testing. Okay. Good evening. My name is Allison Spink. I've lived in Aurora for the past 14 years. By profession, I'm an accountant. I spend my days building financial systems for organizations, cleaning up what's broken, designing processes that hold up, and making sure small decisions don't create big problems later. That way of thinking is what draws me to planning and zoning. How we design and zone a city quietly shapes how life actually works. Zoning codes, land use rules, and development patterns determine how people move, connect, raise families, and build lives. Those aren't abstract outcomes. They're the results of incentives and structures we create. I'm interested in serving because I care about growth that actually supports human life. I naturally think in second-order effects, what a decision enables, what it displaces, and who carries the cost over time. I bring an analytical mindset, focused on real-world outcomes, and a commitment to listen. I would be honored to serve my community by making sure the community serves them.
Thank you. Councilmember Andrews, you're recognized for 2 minutes.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for being here, Allison. My first question, it's a two-part question. So with the experience that you have from your background, can you tell me what and how is that going to inform your decision-making on the Planning Commission?
Yeah, By profession, I think just from a systems perspective of understanding how things are interrelated. If you're approving a permit for a space, is it better for a Whole Foods or a Walmart, which is serving healthier food? And that's the systems perspective, but how that impacts actual people's lives. Healthcare is becoming more of an issue in America, so making sure that healthier foods are more available to the citizens of Aurora. So I think from the professional aspect, it's really just developing over the past 20 years that analytical systems mindset and then applying that to broader systems outside of accounting and business.
Thank you for that. One more question. As we move forward in Aurora, as we start growing and building and doing our thing, how do you see Aurora in 2030?
In 2030, I hope to see it being a lot, and this is my own personal perspective, a lot more community oriented. Again, a lot of this may be just be coming from my 14 years of not actually reaching out into the community, but I don't feel like I personally have much of a community. And again, I'm not placing blame, I'll take responsibility for that, but I'd really like to see where, not necessarily like churches, but like community gathering places where people are really interacting with each other and building relationships. I think as a society, we've really disconnected from each other, and the best thing we could do to develop as a species is to meet each other face to face and get to know each other and really humanize each other. I think that's, and building or zoning that helps that furthers that process, I think is in all of our best interests.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Coombs, you're recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. My question is how you'll balance that community feedback and community engagement with the requirements of the code on Planning and Zoning Commission.
I think that's a hard one because, red tape can be challenging when, there's really valid reasons to not approve something. So I think it's really just with those people and their opinions is making sure that they feel heard. Even if you're not doing what they want you to, that they feel like they matter. So I think that building that, even if it's in a 2-minute time period, I'm sure you're not going to be able to speak to everyone in depth and build these super strong bonds in just a few minutes, but really making sure that people know that their opinion, that their voice and their concerns for their city matter.
Councilmember Hancock, you're recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for your interest in serving the community in this capacity. I'm going to ask you the same question. As Planning Commissioner, what is the difference between equity standard and implementation focus?
I honestly don't know the answer to that question, so I'm going to make up an answer. So implementation focused is really focusing on the details. So where you're putting crosswalks and what vendors you're selecting and your budget, as opposed to equity is what you're actually investing into the community, what you're getting out of it. So you're not just, I'm just going to stick with the grocery store. You're not just building a Whole Foods. You're building a place where kids can ride their bikes and buy an apple. So that's my perspective without knowing the actual answer, but happy to listen to the actual answer.
Well, when you look at rules that are clear and consistent and applied equally, we're talking about equity in that way to make sure that you're not doing things differently in one community than you're doing in the other. And then when the implementation is the focused on like enforcement capacity, how we're going to staff and fund and just making sure that it's clean and consistent throughout, regardless. We have 6 wards. So we want to make sure that what happens in Ward 1 happens in Ward 4 as it makes sense and is reasonable to accomplish. So good try, though.
Equity in finance is it's investment. It's different definitions. So.
Yeah, thank you.
Councilmember Horton, you are now recognized for 2 minutes.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you. So question I have for you is, what do you see as Aurora's biggest land use or growth challenge over the next 5 to 10 years, and how should the Planning and Zoning Commission help address it?
I think it
aligns with one of the biggest issues in Colorado, which is housing. Again, I've been here 14 years, and the land that's been taken up with housing, I don't even know where houses go anymore. I know farther out, there's still some land. But I think it's important. I see a lot of, why am I blanking on the word, multi-level apartment buildings being built, which are great because there's a lot of people, but there's also compromises that are made where kids don't have backyards. And I think it's important to make sure that kids are getting outside, that they can ride their bikes, that they can grow up in that sort of environment. So I think there's a fine balance between building large apartment complexes and making sure that you're building actual communities where people are interacting and having barbecues and interacting with their neighbors.
Tell us about a time you had to make a decision based on rules or data, even when there was strong public pressure or opposition. How did you approach it?
I think that happens in accounting, not super often, but there's one time, it's not an interesting story, but in accounting, you have GAAP standards. There's very set rules for us in how we do accounting. But then sometimes they come along and they take something black and white and they make it gray. So there was one time that it was a very, very gray area of what you have to do, and then you have to work with your auditors to make sure that they're aligned with your approach, and you have to make sure that your investors are going to like what you're doing, and you're balancing your financial statements now and in the future. You're balancing GAAP standards, generally accepted accounting principles if you're not accountants, and making sure that all sides are really aligned in what you're doing and trying to be proactive, preemptive in really what are people going to ask me? What are they looking for? I can't ask everyone what they want, but I can use the rules that exist and the knowledge that I have of forecasting people and what they want to try to combine something that I believe will fit into a specific scenario that everyone will agree with.
Thank you.
Councilmember Jackson, you are now recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for being here today. So Aurora is the third largest city in Colorado, and we are unique compared to Denver and Colorado Springs. What do you see as Aurora's greatest opportunity for planning and zoning?
I do. I'm a super kind of health nut at this point in time. I go through little towns like Fort Collins, and they're just so cute and very local. I personally would love to see more local businesses and more places like Southlands Mall where you can walk around and go to multiple shops, and I know many of them are large brand names, but places where local stores can fit in and our actual community can prosper on that. So I think I'm in a big local mindset of helping businesses that are being built by people in our community, not just big box stores.
Thank you. And then what role does community play in planning and zoning?
It's their community. I think as much as we can consider what they want, the better it is, because we're supposed to represent them, and not everyone disagrees, but it's still important to listen and understand each other's perspectives. So I think community is the largest factor, in my opinion, and then fitting what they want within a framework of rules that we have to follow. And again, just making sure they feel heard, that they feel respected, that they know it's their community and we're listening to them.
Thank you.
Councilmember Medina, you're now recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Spink. My question is, what are your thoughts about ADUs and manufactured housing as options for affordable housing?
I'm sorry, I missed the ADUs.
Yep, that's accessory dwelling units. They're like, if you want an explanation, it's kind of like if you have a big lot.
Yep, put a little kind of shack shed in my backyard and rent it out to a college kid. There's pros and cons. I believe people's property should be able to be used for what they want to use it for. At the same time, that could create a disturbance for other neighbors. I think, again, it's important for people with differing opinions to speak to each other. So my opinion in having it in my own backyard, I wouldn't want to do that because I have kids. If my neighbors brought someone in that was partying all night in the backyard and making my dog bark, that wouldn't be ideal, and I'd be pretty upset about that. So I think it's balancing those two things. I mean, if I were to tell you yes or no on whether I favor it at this moment, that would be a challenge for me because I do see both sides of a debate on that topic.
Thank you. Councilman Wiles, you are now recognized for 2 minutes.
So what one unique skill set or interest do you have that you think sets you aside from others or should make you the top choice?
I'm very future-oriented. It's future-oriented, but I kind of abide by the law of unintended consequences. I joke that it's the only law you can't break. There's no breaking the law of unintended consequences. So I really put thought into root causes of problems and what you're actually trying to solve, so that we're not implementing a solution that's not actually addressing the problem, and then you're kind of spiraling and always trying to catch up. So I think that perspective has helped me develop how I approach problems in a way that I don't see all that many other people, not saying they don't see it all that often, that they're really taking the approach of really figuring out what the problem is and really figuring out what you're trying to solve, and really considering all of the different things that could go wrong or could go better. Unintended consequences aren't always negative. There's definitely positive unintended consequences as well.
Great, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for your interest in being on the Planning Commission. You have 1 minute for closing remarks.
Sure. Thank you for your time this evening. Grateful for the opportunity to be here. This commission directly shapes individuals' lives, which is super important to me. Decisions made here or with this committee or commission, determine whether a parent gets home in time for dinner, whether a child can walk safely to school, and whether a neighborhood feels connected or cut off. Long after the meetings end, those choices continue to show up daily in people's lives. I come with a way of thinking that systems matter, that incentives shape behavior, and that good design can quietly make life easier or worse. If selected, I would approach this role with care, humility, and diligence, asking not just, can we do this, but who does this serve and what does it set in motion? Thank you again for your time and the work you do on behalf of the city.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just go now.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, seeing no further business before the study session, we are adjourned until 6 o'clock. What's that? Are we going to vote afterwards, or are we going to vote? It says on the next meeting. What?
We did those at the beginning.
We did those.
You were yeah. Okay. We're done.
Okay.